The guy who brought this machine decided he couldn't wait. Didn't even disconnect the battery. I read about this. I read the manual. Turns out it's supposed to have that it's called basically straight travel, and I really don't like this. How see, I have to pull on the that's not good. But usually I prefer when the joysticks, you know, when I push on them to go forward. This way it's easier. was a bit scary, you know, because it's so wide. But now I see that on the right side two chains in the middle over there, two chains on the side, two chains in the middle, one on the bucket and another on the bucket, because this is actually a pretty heavy machine, even though it doesn't look that big, but it's pretty big. I just need to climb in here somewhere. I need to verify the height. Yeah, so this was quite an adventure. Like the guy who hold on, let me double check. Yeah, they're recording. The guy who dropped this machine. So here's what happened. Finally, I know the reason why I was sitting here for 2 weeks, but it's ridiculous. Basically, something was wrong with the VIN number on the paperwork. They made a mistake in the VIN number, like when they started this ITN thing. And ITN is the 72-hour notice export from US to Canada. It's always very complicated. So when people basically buy used machinery from US, you have to stop on the US side, but before you even show up at the border, you have to get this ITN. I think it's called ITN. Yeah, ITN. And then you have to send an email with the make and model and VIN number to the special number, special email, like which serves as a 72-hour notice. And the truck cannot cross unless there's 3 days and nights pass, right? And so they did this ITN thing, the customs broker, and something was wrong with the VIN number. And so the guy who brought this here, like how difficult is it to correct the VIN number? But maybe the guy had a different load, but I was talking to the customs officer and I got lucky that it was the same guy who tried to clear this load 2 weeks ago. And he says, I was asking actually the driver, like, don't you want to leave the trailer here, like with the excavator? And he says, the guy said, no, he needs the trailer. And so so he just unloaded. Let me show you here. And this is the corner of the bridge authority, right? So it's kind of like we're not yet inside US because we are inside the bridge authority property, right? So like when people don't have paperwork finished or they cannot cross, that's where they keep them. And basically I was sitting, I think, in the third or second one of these lanes, and they just put one of these they have a big forklift that puts lifts one of these big, you know, concrete blocks and just blocks the machine, just put it across. And so it was sitting like that, like, you know, very subtle reminder that storage fees are due. And then all I have is the copy of the ITN, because of course many brokers have no idea that when you do this 72-hour thing, you require original certificate of origin or original bill of lading or original
toward Upper Mountain Road
or original invoice. Okay, so you're not supposed to use copies, but many people just, you know, nobody has time. But I didn't have any of that. You know, all I had was a printout for this ITN, and at the bottom of that it says, do not hand over to customs. Okay, I cannot hand out that one because that's just a confirmation that this ITN was applied for. But like, where's my paperwork? Okay, I made my own bill of lading, but I need something from the seller, from the buyer, right? Nothing. And I went in there, put everything in the tray, and you go like inside this building here, and you go in the lounge, and you, oh boy, the guy left the chain and it's touching the ground. I see this guy. There's a nice guy picking up this American guy. So there's lots of construction here, and he was picking up this 2 small excavators and 1 bobcat, and he left 1 chain dragging on the ground. But it's a rental, so that's duty free. I had to go there to get cash. But anyway, so I'm supposed to film here, so let's just focus on the truck. And so I put everything in the tray, and I went across the corridor hallway into the lounge, and I wait, and they have a speaker there, and they call you, right? And I wrote Sergey on my paperwork. But all I got is that ITN thing, and I got my bill of lading, and I got the old copy of the old bill of lading from the guy who tried to cross. But I had a feeling that I'll probably be going home. You know, I was ready because these things are pretty complicated. It's not like you just go buy a loaf of bread. You know, it's international border crossing. And again, lots of freight brokers in US, they don't understand the complexity of this, you know, that you need some paperwork, you know, you're crossing into another country. Anyway, the speaker comes to life, and I hear a guy say, the guy with an excavator. I go in there, and he looks at me, he says, how long have you been here? I'm like, I don't know, half an hour. Okay, how long have you been here? And he turns and he talks to the bridge authority guy who I talked to before about, you know, where's the machine? And that's where, you know, I saw it here right after I crossed the border. I'm like, I don't know, 200 meters, 600 feet away from the customs booths when you enter US. But I'm still inside the property, right? And this guy says, how long have you been here? And I'm like, what's going on? And he says, you put your paperwork in the wrong tray. I'm like, holy moly. And they have like 2 trays, you know, one, and then 3 meters away, 10 feet away, another tray. And I see at the bottom of that tray it says vehicle export only. Like, so they put like 20 trays, and then, you know, I put my paperwork inside the one near the door. But that's how you do it. You put the paperwork and you get the hang out of it. You get the heck out of there. You don't talk to anyone. Just you wait for them to call you, right? And basically I put the thing in the wrong paper, in the wrong tray. That was not a good start, you know. And okay, I said, I'm sorry, sir. I put it in the right tray, went back, and then 10 minutes later he says, Drachev. All right. And like I said, I always pleasantly surprised how actually they can, you know, American and Canadian customs guys, they can pronounce the name, you know, because I guess they deal with so many, you know, difficult names every day. You know, Indian, Pakistani, Italian, right, German, Russian. And go in there, and the guy says, so where's, you know, did you cross before with the 72-hour thing? I said, yeah. So he says, well, you need to have at least like bill of sale or invoice or certificate of origin, something like that. He says, go inside, go towards the excavator and see inside. Maybe the guy left the, because he says, I remember he had it when I was dealing with him. The only reason we denied him entry into Canada is because there was a mix up with the VIN number. But he says he had the certificate of origin, the original. And I go find the guy at the bridge authority and I say, do you guys know if the excavator is like open? Is there a key in there? The guy says, I don't know, because I didn't want to walk, you know, back and forth twice. So okay, I walk towards the excavator. The door is open, the key is in the ignition, because you know you cannot go anywhere because they put a concrete block in front of it. So, and so I looked inside, everywhere, nothing. The previous guy left no paperwork, you know, and actually, and I asked this guy before I left, I asked the customs officer, I said, just in case there's nothing there, will you accept a copy? Like, you know, email. I have a printer, I have internet access in the truck. And the guy says, well, you're supposed to have an original, but let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Go look for the paperwork. I said, yes, sir. But at least that looks promising, that he did not say right away, no, originals only. Because if he would have said originals only, basically I would have to turn around and, or actually not turn around, but I would go inside US. I know there's a truck stop like 5 minutes away from here. And they would have to courier overnight the originals. You know, that's how serious it can be, you know. So you go there and you spend whole day, and then of course I would not sit for free. I would charge them, you know, for sitting. I don't know, at least $500. But this guy says, you know, if there's nothing there, let's see what we can do. And so I called the shipper, like basically the dealer who sold this machine to the Canadian guy, and I said, here's what I need. I said, guys, I cannot cross without the paperwork, you know, come on. And I said it looks like they will allow you know, I said a copy, you know, a printout copy, because you know they understand this thing has been sitting here for 2 weeks. And so she sent me a copy of the bill of sale and a copy of the certificate of origin, and I printed it out, printed 2 copies of each, went inside, put it in the proper tray. And the guy says, so? I said, well, unfortunately, sir, I said, no paperwork in the excavator. And he says, what the? And he was, we were together having, you know, a moment. And then he says, okay, I will let you go. Just go talk to the bridge authority guys, deal with the storage fees, and then come back and I'll give you back your passport and your paperwork. And so I went into the bridge authority part of the building, and that was another adventure because they said cash only, because you know nobody told me there was storage fees. I thought everything was paid. I know they said $40 a day, but was it paid, was it not paid? Like, these guys just send a driver, pick up an excavator, which is worth about $85,000, and they don't tell you about storage fees. Like, this is, I don't know. Like, I'm telling you, I'm always happy that we don't have any guns in Canada. You know, we're very peaceful people by nature, but sometimes it's just, you feel very angry, you know. And so yeah, they say 40 times 14, $560. And I said, US or Canadian? And they said, we don't care as long as it's cash. I said, wait a second. So 560 Canadian, that's like 430 US. I said, so you okay if I give you 560 Canadian? They said, yeah. I said, okay, so where's the nearest ATM? Oh, and I talked to the shipper. I said, okay, I'm not paying unless you reimburse me ASAP, because I did not count on this. I need money for in case something I break down, or fuel, you know, because fuel over there is very expensive in Canada. And they said, no problem, we understand, we'll send you money, you know, via PayPal right away. I said, okay, I'll send you a copy of the receipt. And so I go to the duty free, and there's another bank machine inside the US Customs building. I go there, and sometimes at the border, they're on the ATM there'll be a button, you know, choose your currency. But those are pretty expensive. It says, you know, US or Canadian dollars, but most of the time they don't have it. So since you're already inside, this is half like gray area, but this is the US, right? So, but nothing on the ATM, and there was some cleaning lady over there, and I said, hey, do you know if it's Canadian dollars or US dollars? And she looks at me, I think it's US dollars. So what do I do now? You know? I figured, okay, I'm gonna do 430 bucks. And the machine only gives you $200. And of course it charges you $250. So you cannot just take 500 bucks or 600. No, you have to take 200, pay $250, and then again 200, $250, and then last time I thought, okay, I don't need US money because I'm going to Canada. I'll just take 40 bucks last payment. And again it charged me $250, right? And then I walk 10 miles back to the Bridge Authority office, and I said, okay, here's 430 bucks because you said 560 Canadian, right? She says, no, we don't do that. We told you cash only. So if it's US dollars, you need to give us 560 US. So you serious, right? You're not joking. She says, no. And I said, why you don't take Visa? I would just call the shipper and the shipper would pay over the phone. No, cash only. Well, I'm starting slowly, you know, like steam is coming out of my ears, but I say, okay, so you want 560 Canadian, US. She says, yeah, because you don't have Canadian dollars. She says, you can go back into Canada and probably get some Canadian dollars. I said, wait, I already took out 430 bucks. And for me to go back to Canada, I have to, you know, do paperwork. I cannot just cross the bridge. I have to do e-manifest, pay the toll. I said, no, I'll go get you US dollars. And so I walked back. No, this time I went to the US Customs building. It was a bit shorter. And I think over there it was $225, the fee for the ATM. And again, 200 bucks. So I just took, I think I took $100, 430 plus this. No, I took 200. 200 bucks. And went in there. She gave me the receipt. And so I spent 10 bucks on ATM fees. And I decided to add like a 30 bucks convenience fee, right? Because I'm wasting my money. I'm walking around forever here between these buildings and wasting time. I said, okay, so 560 plus 10 ATM fees plus 30 is my convenience fee. So 600 bucks. And so I was doing the, you know, loading, chaining up, chaining down. And then I checked my email. It says, you have money. $600. The only thing I forgot is that PayPal takes a percentage, right? So I think I got like 577 US, which is still good. So at least I covered my money. So 560 plus 10, 570 for the ATM fees, and then 7 bucks for the convenience fee. I lost $23. But anyway, at least I have the money, so it'll be in my bank account, and you know, it's in my PayPal. I send the money to my bank account, so it's gonna be there in 2 days, probably Wednesday or Thursday, so which is good. But now, so time now is 1:28. Hold on, let me check. Because basically, what I'm doing here, I'm waiting for the clock to hit. I think it was 1:36. Because you know, when you cross the border, you need to give them. I think it's like 1 hour. Okay, what does it say here? Pause accepted. Must not cross before 1:33. Okay, now it's 1:28, so 5 more minutes, but I can start going because the Canadian customs is on the other side. But you know, I'd rather wait a couple of minutes. But yeah, so once you do your paperwork, you cannot cross before. Usually it's like an hour, hour and a half. It'll the email tells you, must not cross before this time. But at least my paperwork is accepted. I have a transaction number, but this is the last obstacle, is to cross the bridge, go through Canadian customs, and then I have to stop at the bridge authority on the Canadian side and give them this little TLP, they call it TLP, Niagara Falls Bridge Commission Truck Loads Program. And this thing you have to do online before you cross the bridge. When you're over 130,000 pounds gross, you have to do this, your name, your phone number, where you're going, east or west to Canada, US, and your axle spacings, your weights, and the gross weight. And then they tell you, are you too heavy on one axle or on the other? Maybe you need to move the load, but I'm not that heavy. I said I'm 142 gross, and they said approved to cross with restrictions, maximum speed 5 miles per hour, centered. And I must stop on the Canadian side and get the invoice, because they will charge me for this, maybe $100 Canadian or something, $150 Canadian. But they'll give me an invoice, and then I don't know, like that's another kind of like stupidity. I cannot just pay, like Peace Bridge in Fort Erie, Ontario, Buffalo, New York. You pay at the border with your debit card or credit card. These guys over here, they give you an invoice, and then you have to send them a payment, like a check or something, right? And I said, hey, I'm here, I have checks, I have a Visa, I have a debit card. Why I cannot pay now? Why do we need this, extra paperwork? We don't do it like that usually. And I think once I gave him a check, and they were very surprised and was all messed up because of this, because then I didn't know, did I pay? Since once you do this, they actually mail you the invoice, and then I have to mail them back a check. That's why I try to stay away from this bridge, but unfortunately Niagara Falls is where you have to cross when you have a load like this, with the 72-hour thing, because it's only available here. Like Peace Bridge, they don't do that. They don't have this office. So this office is for this whole area, between like Buffalo, Niagara Falls. This is where you have to be. So anyway, so time now is 1:32. I think I can start going. And what's funny is that sunset is at 4:30. So it's going to be a very long trip, because I checked the distance. It's about 1,100 miles going straight north into and then west into northern Ontario. And I only have a few hours left today, and I only had a small protein bar in the morning, but I wanted to stop in St. Catharines. But if I stop there, I think that's it. So I want to go to at least to Toronto, which is only 75 miles away, and I want to scale. There's a Flying J there, and then I'll just probably stop at the rest area on Highway 400 north of Toronto, because I don't want to go through Toronto in the morning, right? But 75 miles I can do that, so I'll be there probably around 3 o'clock, scale, because I need to know if I'm over 63.5 metric tons. If I'm over 63.5 metric tons, then tomorrow I can only drive until lunchtime. If I'm under 63.5 metric tons gross, then I can drive tomorrow whole day, and I can drive until noon on January 1st, So basically there's much more available hours if you're under the 63.5, because they also restrict your length, your width, but I'm okay there. And actually the height is legal. So the only thing I'm not sure is the weight, because all these machines I found the brochure online, but it's all different depending on the arm, the boom, the bucket. But this thing, it looks small, but the tracks are pretty wide. It was a bit difficult to load because it just you cannot see anything, right? and I had to go like this, back and forth, back and forth. So it's a bit tricky, so you have to have very cool head on your shoulders. Alright, that's it. This is day one. Stay tuned, to be continued.